Good morning, everyone. We're gonna start now in the next few minutes. There's a few more people to come online. Uh, just while we're waiting for everybody to come online, I'm just going to do a quick introduction. Um, my name is Barry Darmody, and I set up Search4less in September 2012. Um, my business partner is Derek Kniff. He's the avatar there on the screen. He's a bit camera shy. Derek and I have worked together for nearly 14 or 15 years now in information services. We started in 1996, pretty much before the internet had taken hold in Ireland, and we developed a product called LawLink, which was the first information service for professionals of its kind. LawLink was subsequently acquired by Roger Brady Group, and I became chief executive of Roger Brady Group in 2006, and I left there in 2008. We worked in financial services between 2008 and 2012, and we came back into the information market and launched Search4less in September 2012. So far, it's had a pretty good take up. We tell our story through numbers, which I'm just going to show you now. This is a slide that we've done a few times over the last 18 months. And just to kind of give you a feel for the numbers here, this morning I checked and 30,286 people have used Search4less since we launched in September 2012. On average, we find that a user will do 2,500 searches per month. Sorry, I beg your pardon, per annum, once they subscribe. This is 5 times the average that that users currently do, and this is because of the unlimited model that we have. The KPMG package allows all users to search unlimited. There's no transaction charges, so when you're searching, there's no charges whatsoever for you or the clients. So you can search at will. This 99.79s, we use technology that is similar to Amazon Web Services and Amazon Bookstore. So that technology allows us to guarantee this type of uptime for the service. So it's unlike any other information service that you might have come across. And when we go into the usability of it, you'll see that it's quite different to existing information services by its nature. We've created 5 jobs since we started. We're hoping to create another 5 this year, and we're already 2 into that goal in terms of recruitment at the moment. On average, users on our website spend 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So if you think that more interesting things like Facebook and I guess Twitter and all these sites, their average is 15 minutes. So we're pretty pleased with the length of time the users spend on our site, and obviously most of our users are professional users, so busy users, but they get value for the time on the site. In relation to number 10 here, that's the number of users on average per site take up the service. So people who go into unlimited packages and unlimited users tend to extend it to not just a couple of people in the office. Firms tend to now extend it to pretty much everybody in the office. As I said earlier on, the service is used 5 times more often than existing services, and 16 of the top 20 accountancy firms currently use it. And KPMG is so far the largest, and we're now going to go through the usability for our KPMG in the next half hour, 45 minutes. 13 is the number of times that our competitors have accessed our site so far this week in a bid to see what we're up to. So we very much see ourselves as market leaders in the whole information space, and the stuff that we're doing with the technology and with the development in searches, we feel is unprecedented and is quite innovative, and hopefully you'll agree. I think most people are now online, so You can raise questions using the interface, or if some of you have, I'm just going to see if I can unmute everybody. If some of you have voice activation, you can ask questions as well. So it's designed to be as interactive as possible. So feel free to stop me in flow, and if you have any questions, I'm quite happy to take them. Okay. So if we go into the Search4less website, you get this Google type interface. So this is the search screen here. It's pretty straightforward to use. And to illustrate that, for example, you can type in anything. So we make the challenge to type in anything. So if I type in the word anything, I still get a result. So the search is quite powerful in that regard, and you can combine things like addresses or names. So if I type in David, and if I type in Shrewsbury, sorry, I'll get all the Shrewsbury is probably better. I'll get all the Shrewsbury Road Davids that have addresses on Shrewsbury Road. So you can see there that the search is quite powerful in that regard. We call this Search4less Stream. So if you're familiar with using Google, which I'm sure you are, the search is capable of producing results in the same way that results in Google are produced. So you don't have to fill in forms all the time to get results. So it's for example, if I type in Aircom here, I get a list of all the companies with Aircom in it. If I type in Dennis O'Brien, and if I put in a part of his address or part of his date of birth, for example, I'll get all the Dennis O'Briens that are born on the 19th of April, and there's 2 Dennis O'Briens in the country that were born on the 19th of April. So that illustrates that the information is being streamed at you. The system is trying to predict what you're looking for, and the algorithms that we use directorships and company relationships and business relationships to predict the most relevant search for your search criteria. You can also type in numbers. So, for example, if I type in, if I go back to my Aircom example, and if I type in the limited company number here is 98789. So if I type in 98789, I'll get Aircom coming back up here, and there's a business name of that with that number associated with it as well. And you can see the two examples there. When we do these presentations, we like to, I suppose, do things that are topical. So, for example, I want to look up a guy called David Drum. Okay, so again, to illustrate the power of the search, I'm getting 23 persons with the words David Drum in the results, but the guy I want, I know lives in Malahide. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of his address there, and it brings back 2 David Drums, David Drum and David Kenneth Drum. At a glance there, I can see that they're both the same person because the address is the same and the date of birth is the same. So they're both relevant to my search. And if I click on the first one here, I'm going to get a result. And it's going to give me a timeline of David Drum. And in this timeline, we can see David Drum was born on the 7th of November 1966, and we can see all the companies that particular David Drum was involved in. We can also click on the Google Earth map here, and we can pull down the Street View guy. And what that will do is it will show us David Drum's house, which is currently for sale. The interesting thing about that particular application is that it has got practical application. Before I move to that, I'll just do another Cheryl Cole. So if I presume most people will know who Cheryl Cole is. Cheryl Cole's hold company is based in Ireland. It's called Tara Entertainments. And again, if I click on the Google Earth, I will get a view of Cheryl Cole's registered address in London. Practical application for that particular service is that if you're going out to a client site for the first time, or if you're vetting a client for the first time, that particular service can be useful to kind of, I guess, put your hands in the wound, see what the registered office looks like, see what the substance behind the company is. So if I go back into Aircom as an example here, I can see that Aircom's registered office is here. I can see the substance behind Aircom, and I can get a good feel for what I'm dealing with as a professional services provider to that particular company. Aircom's a good example, but when you get down to smaller companies, you can see, for example, if I go back into Cheryl Cole's Tara Entertainment Limited, I can see the registered office here in Limerick, and if I take a look at it here, it's across the road there in that little retail area there. Now, the interesting thing about that particular retail area is that Westlife, One Direction, and other such entertainment companies are all registered there in that particular retail part of Limerick. So if we go back into a couple of the features again, so the service also links former names to current names. So if we use our Aircom example, Aircom was formerly known as Board Telecom Éireann. So if I put in Board Telecom, it's going to pull back Aircom again. So that's very, very useful if you know of a particular company, but they may have changed their name, and that might not have been something you're aware of. You can always check the company that you knew it by, the name you knew it by, and it'll bring back the existing company. If we move into the Aircom timeline here, we can see all the events that have taken place in Aircom. And Aircom is a good example because under, I suppose, company law, pretty much anything that has happened, that can happen to a company, has happened to Aircom. You can see there with the timeline view, incorporated in 1983, all the directors that were involved. The interesting thing about Search4less, which helps save time, is that we put the B10 information on the face of the timeline view. So you don't actually have to dig into the B10 to see that Nicky Ryan and Michael Anthony Egan were appointed as directors of Aircom on the 1st of November 1992. That information is lifted to the face of the timeline to save you time. Again, there's a couple of things here in the narrative that are interesting and are highlighted in red, that Aircom had an examiner appointed on the 18th of April 2012, originally appointed by High Court order on the 30th of March. So if there's anything that's kind of relevant to you as a professional advisor, that will be highlighted in red. So if there's any sort of warnings that you need to be aware of in respect of Aircom. If we look across the reporting system here, what we have is a PDF button here which gives us two different types of reports. The first report is a CRO printout. So this is very similar to the CRO printout that you might be familiar with. And that particular CRO printout is there. The system has a real-time date and time stamp which indicates that the information has been retrieved from the CRO servers at the point in time that you do the search. So we don't rely on backups, or we don't rely on yesterday's data to produce this particular piece of information. It comes in real time. which is market leading in the current Irish market at the moment. We were the first to provide this service, and we developed this particular feature with the CRO. So this report is the same report that you'll get from the CRO. It comes in real time, and it gives you all the charges, all the directors, and all the submissions that are filed in the CRO in relation to that particular company. We have a little QR code here, which is a digital sort of stamp that proves the authenticity of this particular search result. It records information like the PC that the search was done from, the fact that it came directly from the CRO servers, and sort of future-proofing this particular result, that it was carried out at a particular point in time by a particular user. So it can't be copied, or it can't be forged in terms of its authenticity. Another report that we've produced here is the Search4less printout. The Search4less printout pretty much combines everything that we have on record about a particular company. And in this case, the Search4less printout, the CRO printout is 18 pages in length. The Search4less printout is 95 pages in length. And the significant difference is that we give you a full history of all the directors and secretaries that were involved in that particular company, and the to and from dates. So you have a full history there of every director that was ever involved in that company. Again, we give you all the charge information that's registered for that particular company. But on top of that, we also then move into previous business names on the report, which will give you all the former names for that particular company, and the business name ownerships. So this is all of the companies or the business trading names that this particular company has or owns. The next feature then is all of the judgments that this company has had awarded for it. So these are all pretty much a list of anybody who hasn't paid their phone bill, and Eircom tend to go and register the judgment. So you can see there that this particular person here owes them €296, and they've gone and they've registered the judgment against him, and it's not satisfied. So that will come up on any search against. So if I type in that person's name, which I'll just do now to illustrate, I'll have one here with a judgment. That's not the actual data I was looking for. Let's go back to see what his address was. So if I type in there's our guy there. So you can see there he's received a judgment from Eircom. Now, it's quite useful information if you're dealing with somebody for the first time and they have a judgment against them. You can kind of get a feel for how you might approach particular professional advices for that person. If we go back to the Search4less report then, and these are all the people that Eircom have judgments awarded against. I think there's 3,490 something. And here are all the documents that are filed in the CRO. So this particular report can be quite useful in terms of putting a Bible together of everything that we might have in respect to that particular company, which can be quite useful. I'm just going to check that there's no questions coming up. Okay. So we go back into Eircom again. And I want to show you a feature here which we call Competitor Watch. In respect to this feature, I was watching Eircom. So to watch a company, and watching a company means that if the company has a submission filed, or if a change in director occurs, or if it can involve the business, or there's a status change, you'll get an email alert. So I was watching Eircom on the 5th of September, and I got an alert to say that Eircom had become involved in a business called eVision. So I went into Search4less and I clicked on eVision, and eVision, I found out, was a TV and communications services business that Aircom are getting involved in. So I immediately assumed that Aircom must be kind of expanding their utility range and getting involved in providing TV services. That was 6 weeks before Aircom actually announced that they were launching a quad play product, and eVision was going to be the brand for the TV element of that quad play. So we had that information in Search4less 6 weeks before they announced it. The first thing that you kind of have to do when you want to launch a new brand in Ireland is you have to register the business name. So that can be quite useful either for your clients to watch your clients' competitors, or to watch your clients to, I suppose, give them a steer on how they might get involved in certain new ventures. Again, they registered the eTalk a few days later, which is the phone element of the quad play. So that was that particular piece of information was streamed to us in real time again, because we were watching Aircom. You can share the information on this page by clicking the email icon. So you literally click that email icon, type in the name of the person you want to share the information to, and they'll get the PDF of all the information that's on that particular page. There's also a Bitty link here that you can share to if you wanted to tweet a particular piece of information. You can print what's on the page by clicking the print icon here, and it pulls up all the information that's on that particular page, and it allows you to print that to a local printer. Again, it's just a printed format of what's on the page. All of the links down here are clickable. So I can click on Jacqueline Conroy here, and I can see the B10 behind that particular appointment. And if I click in there, I can see that particular B10 relates to that there. All of these filings and these account details. So if I click on the account details there, I'll get a set of Aircom's accounts. Just downloading there. Okay. Interestingly as well here, we have one of your competitors. This is a feature that we've just launched in the last few weeks, and it's proven to be quite successful and quite popular. But as you can see there, I clicked on the link, and it's given me a list of all companies that particular company, I should say, audits. And you can see the full list there. You can see a list of all the audit partners. You can click on download there, and what that will do is it will export a full list of those companies to an Excel spreadsheet. And as I say, all of those links again are clickable, and it brings me into that particular company, and I can do full search on all of that. That can be quite useful for business development. It can be quite useful for, I guess, understanding the connectivity and relationship between companies and their auditors, and so on and so forth. So that kind of takes us through the whole timeline view. We have, as I say, all our clickable links there. Everything is ordered by effective date, and as I say there, all of these particular, if I go back over to my current key people, I can see here that all of these links are also clickable. So if I click on this particular person here, it brings me into his history, and I can click on pretty much any company that's there. Okay. Grand. So if I go back out to my search environment again here, I'm just going to click on the live icon here, and the live icon demonstrates the currency of the information that we're looking at right now. So this rather cheesy looking feed up here, and it's cheesy because we wanted it to have an impact. If I click on it, you can see a list of everything that's currently been filed in the CRO. So you can see there 1121, this particular company here has just filed an annual return, other directorship listings, and a B73 change their return date. That's the currency of the information. If I click on this particular one here, Athena Depth, I can actually see this B1. This B1 has literally just been scanned in the CRO in parallel in the last few minutes. And I can click on that and I can download it in real time. So I'm just clicking on that there. So the beauty of that is that if you bear in mind that most watch lists, if you're familiar with using watch lists up until now, most watch lists will pull information and updates, and they'll send it to you sort of first thing in the morning, and you'll get a list of maybe 100 companies that you're watching with information that of the updates that are taking place, and it becomes a little bit meaningless because you've got 10 other things you need to deal with in your inbox first thing in the morning, and you might overlook stuff because you're just too busy. What we do is we stream the alerts to you in real time. So within a couple of minutes of a particular event happening, we'll send you that watch list. So it's more meaningful, and you can then decide whether to flag that email or to process or action that particular email rather than having to look through the watch list. So that's that annual return there. Now, the interesting thing about the CRO, just for your own information, is that CRO has three methods of receiving submissions: post, online, and over the counter. When they receive a submission, so this particular submission came to life as soon as it came in over the counter, purely because it was submitted through Core. So what happened in this particular case is that the submission came in. It was a signing page. It was originally presented through Core. It was a signing page which was signed by the directors, and as soon as the CRO scanned the signing page, this image becomes available. The significance of that is that if we go back to our live feed and click on it, you can see there that it's scanned, which means it's effective the moment it's scanned. These documents here are not yet scanned because they're handed in paper format, but they will be effective provided there's no issues with them at that point in time. So if you're working on a particular issue or working on a particular company and there's a filing that has just been submitted, it could take precedence over anything that you're doing, even if it isn't scanned. So it is quite important to keep an eye on any submissions that are in the CRO, because they come to life as soon as and are backdated as soon as they're processed. So it's useful to understand the CRO process in that regard. If we go back into our reports here, we've got a history file here, which is quite useful because of the way we stream information. You can often find, you're accessing information that you didn't anticipate quite regularly. And what this allows us to do is to go back to a particular moment in time and to, I suppose, rehash how we arrived at a particular place when we were doing our searches. And I can see here, I got to eTalk by going through eVision, and I can click on eTalk here, and it'll bring me back into the eTalk straight away. That history file as well can be downloaded to Excel, and it can be submitted on to clients as a record of work that you've carried out, or to I suppose central processing if it's something that is of use. If I click on my watch list here under reports again, that's this reports menu up here. In watch list, I can see all the companies that I'm watching. I can remove them, or I can click back into them here. Okay. Our legal notices feed gives us a list of everything that's happening in terms of detrimental issues for companies. So creditor meetings coming up. So IPAL Limited there have a creditors meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks. So if I type in IPAL, I can see that is denoted there by a creditors meeting icon. So if I'm searching a particular company and they've had a creditors meeting, or there's a creditors meeting coming up, that will be clear and obvious to me, and I can go in and I can see that that's been scheduled for that particular date, 21st of Feb 2014. The same will be the case for liquidators appointed, receivers appointed, examiners appointed. Any petitions for winding up, again, they will all be flagged. So if you look at P&M Carpets Limited here, and if I type in P&M, so P&M Carpets Limited there's a red flag beside that particular company. Note, winding up petition lodged. And if I click in there, I can see a full history of that particular company. Again, we provide, where possible, we provide a shareholding listing of a particular company as well, which is quite interesting because very quickly, because of the way we stream the data to you, you get a picture of the relationships between directors, shareholders in the various companies that they might have a common interest in. So if I go in here, I can see all the companies that this particular person was involved in, and I can see if there's a relationship between the other shareholder and if there's anything meaningful there for my assessment of that particular search. A couple of other useful features would be that if we type in a common enough name and we'll type in John O'Brien, our service will return synonyms of a particular name. So John will return Sean. If you type in Anthony, it'll return Tony, and so on and so forth. So we're trying to capture common ways of that people use to avoid detection in this regard. You can see here that this third entry here has a red flag against them, and if I click in there, it tells me that they've received a judgment against the Collector General on the 6th of February 2014 for €45,000, and those judgments are unsatisfied. Equally, what I can do with that particular search is if I type in John O'Brien again, and I can use the filters on the left-hand side of the service here. I can use the filters to filter what I'm looking for. So I want all the John O'Briens with unsatisfied judgments, and there I have them there. I can also go down and I can say I want all the John O'Briens in Dublin with unsatisfied judgments by clicking Dublin there. Okay. Now, we see here the second person has a black flag against them. A black flag denotes that the person has been restricted or disqualified as a director. So again, if you've got a new client coming into them and you pop their name into the system and they come up with a black flag, they can't act as a director of a company, and it's something that you need to be aware of as a professional advisor. So if we go back into the filters again, they're quite useful for, I suppose, non-standard searches. So if I type in BlackRock, and on the left-hand side here, I want BlackRock, and I want January 2014, right? So I want limited companies, I want business names, and I want unknown, because business names don't have a status, so we record it as unknown. And I want normal. I don't want any dissolved companies. And that's given me 48 results. And that's 48 companies that have just incorporated, or businesses that have just incorporated in the BlackRock area in January 2014. So I can see there who owns them. I can see what the nature of the business is. I can go in and I can have a look at who's advising them. And I can probably get a jump on anybody else in terms of how I might be able to provide professional services to those types of companies, or I can see what's going on in that particular. And that is true for pretty much any address or any town that you type in there. Occasionally, we also get requests for looking at companies in a particular area. So if I type in Clash Industrial Estate, this will give me a list of all companies that are registered in Clash Industrial Estate in Tralee. And again, I can use the filters down the left-hand side here to distill my search down further so that I'm only looking at information that is completely relevant to me. If we go back into a couple of the features that are useful, particularly the date of birth search. I'm going to illustrate this using Dennis O'Brien again. So as you can see here, we have 106 Dennis O'Brien results coming up. But the guy we're interested in was born on 19th of April, 1958. Okay, so if I type in the 19th of April, 1958, I'm going to illustrate something here that's quite useful to know about our service. Less is more, so the less you type in, the more results you get. I haven't typed in 1958 here because I'm going to use the filters. I'm going to click on the guy who was born in the 70s is not relevant to what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to click on the ones between 1951 and 1960. And in relation to these, I'm getting 6 results. And using my intuition, I can see that there's a very, very strong 99% chance they're all the same person based on just general information I might have. So Portugal is relevant. There's 2 different addresses in Portugal. Malta is relevant. Again, there's slight variations in addresses in Malta. And the person that was born in 1955 is relevant. So what I'm demonstrating here is that very often the information in the CRO can be erroneous, either by design or by accident. In this case, I suspect the information was miskeyed. So 58 and 55 can be, 5 and 8 can very commonly be misinterpreted. So I'm looking at this, but I'm getting a full result here based on the 19th of April entry that I've put in. So I haven't put in the full details. You can click on the UK flag here, and that will bring you into the UK environment. And the UK environment will, we get this information directly from the company's house in the UK, so it's a little bit slower than our own database. And I can see here that I just typed in Virgin Atlantic there, and it's going to give me a timeline of Virgin Atlantic report. All this information, again, is part of the standard package for the UK. When you get into the image element of the UK, there are charges, but for now, this as far as here is part of the overall package for KPMG. So I'll come back out of my UK environment. I think that's pretty much everything on the site that we need to look at. I don't think I've missed anything. I don't know if anybody has any questions or wants to raise any queries or wants to go back over anything I've looked at. I think you can raise questions through the. I've got a couple of questions now that I've just spotted here. So we've got, does this cover the UK? Yes, it does. How can we access Search4less? You should have a link on, I think it's search4less.ie/KPMG. If you type in /KPMG, it will allow you to register. It'll allow you to register yourself, and once you register yourself, you're added to the KPMG license. That's it. There's another question here. Does it work for international searches as well? The international searches, we are offline, so you got to request those through your own internal search database there. There is an iPad app. We've had a question here, is there an iPhone app? There's an iPad app. The iPhone functionality is quite clunky right now. We're developing an iPhone, a native iPhone app. It works pretty well on the iPad, but I don't like demonstrating it in the pub on the iPhone because it doesn't do it justice, but it will work. It's just not a great feel. I think that's everything, unless there's any other questions. Okay. Okay, I think that's everything, guys. So I'm just going to sign off there. You can email us on info@search4less.ie if you have any questions, or you can call us on 01488 0990. And the guys here will be happy to deal with any questions that you might have in respect of the service. And I'll be talking to Jared about tweaking the webinars from time to time. So if there's colleagues of yours that would like to attend webinars, we can certainly arrange other webinars. I hope you found the service useful. And as I say, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you for your attention this morning.